Hi, I'm Courtney. I'm going to tell you about the states I've lived in. I'm going to tell you about the places I've lived in the United States, or the US. I lived in California. I lived in California for 2 years. I lived in California in 2017 and 2018. I lived in Victorville, California. Victorville, California is 1 hour from Los Angeles, California. California is a state on the West Coast. There are 2 main coasts in the US, the West Coast and the East Coast. California is on the West Coast. California is a big state. California has a lot of land. But California also has a massive population. There are over 39 million people that live in California. 39 million people. That's a lot of people. California has cities like Los Angeles, Sacramento, and San Francisco. It also has a lot of smaller towns. I lived in Victorville, California, which is about an hour north of Los Angeles. It depends on how much traffic there is. It depends on how much traffic there is. Sometimes it takes an hour to drive from Victorville to Los Angeles, and sometimes it takes a lot longer because of the traffic. The place where I lived in California was a desert. A desert is a type of place where there's a lot of sand. There's a lot of sand, there are cacti, and it's very dry. There's not a lot of water in the desert. The area that I lived in California wasn't very safe. There was a lot of crime in the town that I lived in California. One time, we got our license plate on our car stolen. A license plate is a plate on the back of the car with numbers, and the numbers tell the government what car you own. Our license plate was stolen. So we had to go to the DMV to get our license plate replaced. It was very annoying. But that's what happens when you live in an area with a lot of crime. When I lived in California, I had just graduated college. And moved to California. So I didn't have very many friends. I didn't have any friends when I moved to California. So I was sad. I was sad because I didn't know anyone. My husband worked during the night. My husband worked night shifts. So he slept during the day. He slept during the day, and I didn't have any friends. So I was alone. My time in California was kind of sad. It was kind of sad. But there were a lot of good times too. Sometimes I went to the beach. I went to the beach and I laid on the sand and I played in the ocean and I ate hot dogs and I really enjoyed the beach in California. I also really enjoyed the weather. The only time the weather was awful was in the summer. In the summer, there was 1 month or 2 months where the weather was really, really, really hot. It was 110 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but I think it's over 40 degrees Celsius. It's really hot. When it was this hot, we couldn't go outside because we had to drink too much water and we were sweating so much. Another thing that I liked about living in California is that we went to Sequoia National Park. Sequoia National Park is a park with very tall trees, some of the tallest trees in all of the US, maybe even the world. I loved going to Sequoia National Park. In California, I lived very close to a rock climbing gym. I lived really close. I lived 1 mile from a rock climbing gym. So that's where I learned to rock climb. That was the best part about California. Eventually, I made one friend in California that was my best friend. And I still talk to her today. My friend and I would go running. My friend and I went running together. And she also always invited Jed and I, my husband and I, to holiday dinners because we didn't have any family in the area. Overall, my time in California wasn't my favorite time, but it wasn't because of the place. It was because I didn't know any people, and I'm a really social person, so I don't like being alone. I also was young. I was only 21 or 22 when I lived in California. So if I was in the same situation now, it would be awesome. I would have so much free time. If I was in that situation now, it would be great and I would use it to my advantage. But at the time, I was young. It's okay. California is a state that has mountains, and sometimes we would go hiking in the mountains. Sometimes we went hiking in the mountains, and one time we went on a hike with my friend and his dog. I remember my friend and his dog were so tired. They were so tired when we got done with the hike because we hiked for 10 hours. We hiked for 10 hours and then we went to eat steaks. We went to eat steaks and bread and vegetables. The steak and the bread and the vegetables tasted incredible because we were very tired and hungry from hiking. On the hike, there were pine cones. There were pine cones that were this big. The pine cones were giant. That's something I always remember about hiking in California. There were also Joshua trees. Joshua trees are a crazy type of tree. Joshua trees are a type of tree that grows in the desert, and their leaves are spiky. They have a bunch of spiky leaves, and their branches grow in crazy directions. Their branches grow in all different directions. One good thing about California is that in the desert where I lived, the stars were beautiful. The stars were gorgeous at night. I love looking at the stars. So I liked this about California. Would you like to visit California? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed listening to my time in California, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye!